charge of the technology,
Call
please?
Zuckerberg.
It says live on Zoom. It says live counting down in the corner.
Oh, counting
12
down.
seconds.
Oh, there we go. It's live now.
Okay. All right. I'm definitely going to need this wine now. All right. Welcome to another edition of Wine and Whiskey Wednesday, brought to you by your hot ninjas. My apologies for us getting started a little bit late. We had some, I had some technical difficulties where I actually forgot to start it. So cheers, everyone.
Cheers.
Cheers.
Hope all of our Canadian audience had a fabulous Thanksgiving long weekend.
Still,
Everyone all done with the turkey leftovers?
My son and I were bachelors. My wife had to take off to the States suddenly, and we did take out chicken both days.
Did you take out turkey?
Well, there was one place doing skip the dishes. It was Earl's, and you could order it. And I thought, hey, what the heck? And it said sold out. I was like, oh, well. So
Okay.
I thought
Brad, you're such a guy.
yeah. Well, this wasn't expected. My wife has a friend who's ailing in the States, and she wanted to see her because unfortunately she's terminal. And she thought, well, I'll go to her funeral. And she said, wait a minute, I'm going to try and see her while she's still with us. And
Yeah.
she jumped in her car, drove the 2 days to get down to Wisconsin, and spent 3 hours with Dawn on Monday, and Dawn passed last night. So
Oh,
it was just one of those things, right? It was a cool thing to do. And it's almost, she feels like Dawn waited for her. So, yeah. So I was just left on the long weekend. Chris and I have just been total bums. It's been kind of fun in our own right. I think Jen and I were online the other day, and I said, wait a minute, I got to go wake Chris up. It was like 12:30.
what household do you get up at noon? I don't know household mothers.
Well, I'm always up early, but he's a total teenager. So.
Oh, it's a teenage. Yeah, it's the teenage thing. We have to
I
wait
got
for
one
it.
too.
There you
Up
go.
all night, sleep all day.
Yeah.
Pretty much.
Yeah, no, there have been days and mornings where I'm waking up in the morning and Sarah's going to bed. So
Oh.
yeah. So they stay up late and go to bed early. Okay. So our topic for tonight is going to be platforms. So it's a topic that was suggested by Christian last week, but I don't know if Christian is joining us
Christian.
or not.
I'll
He's
tag
not
him.
online yet, so hopefully he will join us. But his question or his topic suggestion was talking about platform change. And my internet connection is unstable.
Isn't it always? I don't mean yours.
It
I
is.
just mean
And
the
we've
internet.
determined what it is, though. It's not my laptop. It is the fact that I'm wireless and Steve is wired.
Steve is wired.
Look
at him. Can't sit still.
Always one, right?
I was gonna ask Steve, what are you taking tonight?
And so that tends to be the challenge, that if I'm not on wireless, my Zoom is fine. Okay, so our topic of discussion is platforms and changing platforms. And we're going to talk about a whole bunch of different aspects of it, but let's start with whether or not you support multiple platforms. And so we're not just necessarily talking about accounting software platforms, but platforms in general that relate to your clients. So for example, payroll platforms, do you support Rise and Knit and WagePoint and Nebs and ADP and
T-Sheets.
Ceridian? Payment platforms, Pluto, WayPay, Veeam. So multiple platforms in any service offering that you have, not necessarily just accounting platforms. So first question is, do you support multiple platforms?
Yes.
Wow.
Yes.
The way you define it, yes, definitely.
Okay. How about you,
Little bit.
Jonathan? Yes, as well?
Yeah.
Interesting. Okay. What about in our audience?
Do we have an audience today who's out
We have
there?
an audience.
I don't think we have. Do we have anyone yet?
Yes, we
Hey.
have 6 people watching. We have an audience.
Oh, they're hiding somewhere because I don't see their names. I did tag,
In our audience.
told him his ears might be burning. That
Okay.
hopefully we'll get his butt in here.
Yeah. Okay. So Yelena
Hey, everyone.
is with us. I don't know if you would like to
Hey,
comment as to whether or not
Yelena.
you are supporting multiple platforms. So in our office, I'm unfortunately going to have to say yes, only because in payroll, we have all of our payroll clients are WagePoint except for one. And only because we couldn't get it working with WagePoint. And it was just, yeah. And so we couldn't not help the client. So we ended up taking a second platform. But other than that, I don't think there is anything else in our office that we're using multiple platforms for. So for those of you that are using multiple, can you share with us whether it's accounting platforms versus app platforms?
I guess I have a question, Juliet. Can I ask a question of you?
Sure.
Well, you say, unfortunately, you support multiple platforms. Why is it unfortunate?
Okay,
Or is
so
that just a
I'll
slip
get
of the
to that
tongue?
when I talk about
Ooh.
why, in my opinion, you should have one platform.
Okay, so I'm getting ahead of the
You're
conversation.
getting ahead of the conversation. Yes.
Sounds scandalous, though.
I'm very
From my
intrigued.
perspective,
Yeah.
and
Come on,
again,
Jen. Let's pressure. Let's get it out now.
from my
Sorry,
perspective,
Jacqueline,
absolutely.
help. Sorry. Okay, I'll behave.
You're being the devil's advocate today.
I just want to hear the gossip.
There's no gossip. And where
I
did
know.
Steve
Go
go?
on.
You scared Steve off.
Yeah, he doesn't like gossip, so he just left.
Just the mere mention of the word chases him
Yeah.
away.
I
Okay,
guess. I guess so.
good
I can start
choice.
off, if you like, Juliet, I can start off the whole platform conversation if you would like.
Sure.
So when I started my practice, I supported all accounting platforms. So if it was an accounting software or an aspiring accounting software, I supported it. And over the years, I have trimmed that down to now I only support one accounting platform, and everybody knows it's QBO for me.
Okay.
And so the benefits of that was that my team and I were able to become experts in QBO and not have to go through the confusion of changing platforms during the day.
Okay.
I used to have scheduling challenges that if I was scheduling, I don't know, one of my peeps for work, I would think about, okay, well, I'm going to have them work on this accounting platform in the morning. So I'll assign those two customers, and then I'll assign this different customer in the afternoon because they're on a different platform, because I knew, and I discovered it was quite difficult for new people in the industry to be able to change that quickly from one to the other without complications and stress and fatigue.
Okay.
So that's what drove me.
And absolutely. So, but you still said that you're supporting multiple platforms.
That's
So
right.
even though you've made that realization with your team,
Yes.
why are you still supporting multiple platforms then?
Well, it's a process. For me, I don't do anything overnight. In the past, I used to make changes really fast.
Yeah.
And that's not the best way for me to operate.
Okay.
So I have reduced the number of platforms in other areas, and I'm always looking at which ones might be the only ones that I can use. Right now, I haven't got those solutions in those other areas, which is why there's multiple, but typically I don't serve more than 2 platforms in any particular vertical.
Okay.
I do have it narrowed down quite a bit.
Okay. Excellent. How about you, Jacqueline?
I do pretty well, mostly Sage and QBO, but I
Okay.
do have one client that uses Connex. I don't know if anybody knows what that is.
That's an
Help me there.
accounting software?
It is for steel. They produce steel, the steel structure things for buildings and stuff. And it's a pain in the ass.
Okay.
I would love to chuck it out the window, but because of their size, they can't use Sage or QBO because of all the things that they need to break down. I use WagePoint. I've got another client that uses the T-sheets. And then there's some that it's just the paper stuff.
Okay.
It's got to be everything written on paper because Lord, the computers are going to explode tomorrow.
Okay.
I still actually have one client that I do the book, the paper books for, because in his 80s and he only has about 6 entries for every 3 months. So I figured I'm not arguing with him. Let's just do it this way.
So that would definitely be a multiple platform.
Oh yeah, definitely.
Okay, Brad.
Well, I was
So when you're consulting,
sorry. Right. I really followed a lot like what Jen has done. We've talked about this in the past. I pretty much supported anything back in the day. You just have to tell me which software you had and I try and figure it out.
Yeah.
But generally speaking, it was Sage and QuickBooks Desktop is where I got my start. The first cloud was Xero I looked at. I mean, I looked at it. They kind of invented this space, as we all know.
Yep.
Got signed up with that, played around with it, looked at QBO, and it really stunk. But I was lucky because I was looking at QBO around the same time it started to get good. And I got invited to get trained on it. Rachel Fish trained me. And I liked it. So then that's where it all began. At that point, I still looked at FreshBooks and I still did Wave.
okay,
That was crazy. Trying to know all of those was insane. So, everyone knows the story. I went to Connect in 2015, drank the Kool-Aid and went QuickBooks exclusive. So I do online and desktop. So technically I do multiple. I'm trying to move away from desktop, but my clients won't let me, and they like to pay me good money to work on desktop projects. So I still take them, but my objective is to get away. I got a guy off a desktop today to get on online. So that was thing. But back to multiple platforms. I'm definitely single now when it comes to the accounting. And then I don't really support a lot of other platforms because I'm better off with these apps having the app partner onboard my clients. It's a much better experience than me trying to figure them all out. Because if I can't use these software packages on my own numbers, it's kind of useless. So that's what I've been kind of doing. But obviously Receipt Bank, I'm a partner. I have close to 50 clients on it. I provide support on that if needed. Otherwise, they just take the license and do what they want. I work with their bookkeepers and their accountants. Now, some of you know that I've been kind of running this idea around about not supporting multiple platforms, but understanding multiple platforms better. So I reached out to Xero actually and had a chat and said, hey, look, I know we're on opposite sides of the spectrum here, but I'd like to learn your community and your software better. What do you think about that? And I went to the roadshow last week to kind of learn a little bit more. I've been reading up. I'm probably going to recertify just for the heck of it. And then I feel it'll help me identify the best option for all my clients, because QBO is not always the best option. We know that. So I'd like to have a 1A potentially, but let's be realistic. Certifying takes a lot of work. The Xero certification was really difficult, I remember. So it's a great idea now. I think when it comes down to it, I won't, but I do have a new appreciation reaching out to their country manager, Will Buckley, super cool guy. Got a bit of a different perspective from him. He asked a lot of questions of me. It was actually kind of cool. So yeah, that's about as far as I deviate from QuickBooks Green.
okay, very cool. Matthew, welcome.
Hello. Sorry, I was working with a new client and trying to get them to understand technology, which made me late. And I think that's definitely related to what we're talking about.
So our topic tonight is platforms.
Yep.
Whether or not, and we're starting out with whether or not you support multiple platforms, and if you do, why? And platforms are not just accounting software platforms, but multiple apps that do the same thing or serve the same functionality.
Hi, my name is Matthew Fulton. I'm an appaholic. I should start with that. So I think that's part of the answer. But really, actually, more directly to the question about different platforms. I've always believed that one of the most important things that anybody can do when they're first getting started, and if you're trying to gain more clients, absolutely, you have extra time, you should become certified in every single platform. I was certified in FreshBooks, Xero, QuickBooks, all that stuff. If for no other reason, it's our responsibility to maintain our knowledge as to what is the best options for our clients out there. That means I love QuickBooks Online. It could change at some point, possibly. So I need to be cognizant of what else is out there from that side of it. but also no better way for me to understand how to convert somebody from zero to QuickBooks Online than to truly understand their platform. I do agree with Brad. There's only so much time in the day, but I do actively try to keep my eyes on and in the top dogs out there.
And
So
I
hope that
think
helps.
there is a difference between being aware of what is out there, which absolutely we need to provide the best advice to our clients, and supporting them all in your firm or as a service offering that you have. So
And we are a proud Intuit partner.
okay, excellent.
Amen.
Okay, so hey Kathy, welcome Kathy. So Kathy said, finally got a chance to read your book. It was great. Thank you for sharing your journey. Oh, the struggles are real. Cool. Thank you very much. And perfect segue, because I'm going to read an excerpt, which it's like a page from the book. It's on page 153 for anyone that wants to read along if they have a book.
Will there be a test after this?
There will not be a test. There will
Okay.
not be a test. And for those of you that don't know, I'm going to do a shameless plug. Steve and I wrote a book, The Kninja Way, Our Journey to Firm of the Future. And it actually came up, very timely based on the tweet that you tweeted out, Brad, with the Firm of the Future win from last year, which was at this point, or 2 years ago. But the reason it's a shameless plug is all the proceeds, the book is available on Amazon, and all the proceeds go to the Kninja Foundation. So please, please, please purchase the book. Okay. So the purpose of the book as well, for those of you that know, it talks about our journey. It talks about the struggles that we've had, the points in time that we were looking to close the doors and shut down the business, all the way through to our journey to Firm of the Future, winning Firm of the Future. But one of the things that we talk about, and this is, I don't know, probably, I'm not even sure what year it was. Let's see if it tells me what year it is here, because I don't remember. I think it's year, it's at the beginning of the chapter. I think it's 2012 or 2013. It might be, no, it would be after QB Connect. So it might be later than that. It is 2015. So one of the things that we started to do was narrow down our focus and narrow down our platforms. And we started with identifying our clients and whether or not we needed to eliminate any of our clients, but then we started to look internally at our processes. So I'm talking about apps alongside the accounting platform. So let me give you an example, which is payroll. This was a service we offered to our clients and wanted to continue offering it, but we were processing payroll for our clients with probably 5 or 6 different payroll platforms. We scaled this back to 2. One is ideal, but all of our clients didn't fit with just the one option. WagePoint was our go-to. Only if our client's payroll was too complex for the functionality of WagePoint was the second option considered. And it was us who made this determination and not the client. And it was the anomaly, not the norm. I think that we only had 2 clients in total whose payroll couldn't be managed with the functionality of WagePoint, and they were our largest clients. So here's what this allowed us to do: streamline and systematize. Using 6 different payroll providers meant that my team had to know 6 different programs. No big deal, since they already were working with them and knew them, right? Wrong. When the mid-month payroll dates rolled around and it was a payroll day, it meant that they had to switch between these 6 programs, usually before noon, to complete payroll submissions. So everyone knows where I'm going with this, right? Okay, so imagine the thought process that they had to go through. Number 1, what client am I working on? Number 2, what are the anomalies I need to know about this client's payroll? And then they would check their teamwork project in the task list. Number 3, what software do I use for their payroll? Number 4, what's that login password? Number 5, switch gears from processing payroll in the previous program. Number 6, remember to sync, export, or manually enter the payroll numbers in QBO. And then rinse and repeat with the next client. So it's 7 steps for every payroll, and most payroll deadlines are before noon. And if it's a semi-monthly, it's all on the same day for our team. And we took this down after we switched it to a streamlined with one app for all the payroll. So 1 and 2 are the same. What client am I working on and what are the anomalies I need to know? And then number 3 is process and wage point. They're already logged in from working on the previous client's wage point, so they don't have to do it again. Number 4, so they don't need to know the login password. They don't need to switch gears from processing payroll in the previous program. And then number 6, or I guess it's number 4 now, is sync with QBO. So you'll see that not only did it remove some steps, but it simplified the steps that were still there. And it prevented the team from having to switch mental gears with every payroll. And that was what the main reason was that we did it. So it also is when you switch gears, it's where the mistakes happen, right? This is the way that I think I do it this way. Oh, I have to process an ROE. How do I do it again for this company in this platform? So that's, for us, one of the reasons when I say, unfortunately, we support 2 rather than 1. So, the main question as well, with as much as there are so many payroll platforms and accounts payable platforms and everything else, like every cash flow, there's, zillion cash flow apps that are out there. How do you stay on top of them if you're supporting more than 1?
You don't. And that's the problem. You don't.
Exactly. That's the problem I have in that space. Precisely. There's 10 cash flow apps I can name off the top of my head right now. I don't know any of them that well.
The problem is you function everything at 60%.
Yeah.
You're supporting the bare minimum of each platform, whether it's document retrieval, payroll, practice management, cash flow. You're operating at the bare minimal viable product in order to use it. So you're not gaining any efficiencies. You're not gaining any profitability. You're not gaining any productivity. And one of the quotes, and I don't know which scientist came up with this, but every time you have a disruption in your workflow, you lose 20 minutes. And so if you're running 4 payrolls in the morning, you've lost an hour and a half just due to the disruption of switching to those 4 different payroll platforms.
And you're already switching gears by switching between clients.
Yeah.
So it's not even, so theoretically, you've got 8 switches taking place in there.
Yeah. So
Don't forget the phone calls in the middle.
And the email, always the email, but it's mental.
Yeah, I think most of our team has their phone on mute payroll morning.
Yeah, we've had that discussion.
Yeah, but
Where's
And
my phone anyways?
what does supporting multiple platforms do to your ability to scale your business?
Well, it's definitely going to be a challenge because it's just, you take the efficiency Jen was just talking about and you start to magnify it. It's going to cause even more problems, which is going to trip you up even more. So having that super tight process that you know so well is definitely the way to go. And that super tight process by definition is going to be as few apps as possible.
Well, unless I've seen some people have some success in going by silo. So this is my payroll person for that platform and they handle all of that. This is my person for this accounting platform and they handle all of those. So if you're going to scale, you have to have specialists with each platform.
I can see that for sure. Yeah, that could work.
That's expensive and that's complicated because you're not going to have enough work initially to have a full-time job for anybody in a particular vertical. So it's complicated.
Yeah, so you could create like a even teams by industry. So here's my construction team. So they know the entire app ecosystem for construction. And here is my legal team, and they know all of the apps and the ecosystem for law firms. But yes, duplicate staff support. Your teams then have to be big enough that you've got duplicate staff support on both teams. But it certainly can be a problem to scale. And
then what happens when someone goes on vacation because construction can't go and support marketing or e-commerce, right? And
I think that, and it's one of the misconceptions that everyone, or not everyone, big generalization, that a lot of people think is that in order for me to grow, I need to be able to take on more clients and I need to be able to take on what the clients are using and what they're doing, as opposed to here's my area of expertise and going out and getting those clients. And do you find that if you are becoming a specialist, and it kind of goes into the niche area, the niche conversation, or niche, depending on if you're American or Canadian, that you can charge a premium because you know that area so much better? I've got the perfect ecosystem for construction. I've got the perfect ecosystem if you're an Amazon seller. I can, nail it down completely, that here's what you need to do from your perspective, from our perspective, for you to hit the ground running. Can you charge a premium for that?
Of course you can.
I think you can, but think of it another way. You don't necessarily even have to. I'm not saying don't, because you're so good at that one niche that your actual cost of providing that service is going to be darn good because you've got it dialed in so well.
Yeah.
So your margins should be naturally pretty beefy as it is.
Yeah.
Ooh,
If you got your processes.
counter argument to that, Brad. Let me give you the counter argument.
I want it.
You've just given away all your time and experience for free, and that is not the way it gets done. If
No,
you-
I know what you're saying, but there's a point where your processes
all
are.
of the learning has
Your
value.
No, I agree. I
Thanks, Matt.
agree. But you can actually be so efficient that there's a lot of margin there that you're still going to make more than if you were doing hourly and paper-based and old school, trying to capture everything. Just because you are that good at it. I agree. You can charge a premium, but you don't necessarily have to charge too much to be successful, because premium pricing is different to everyone out there. Not everyone's going to buy, even if they are in construction. They're going to go, I don't care. I don't want to pay zillions more just for that, even though they want your service. So if you come along and there's something that's,
But then are
that's-
they a client that you even want?
well, if you're really good at what you do, every little client is going to add value to the bottom line, because your contribution margin is going to be so strong that everything becomes profit at one point, because you are doing it so well. So you've got your cost covered. Your break even point is just all tied to your fixed costs. If your contribution margin is nice and got lots of space, room to roll, you've got flexibility in how you want to price your product.
Hmm.
Some are going to pay premium, others may not. It's nice to know that you have some wiggle room with certain customers.
Usually it's been my experience that if you are concerned or thinking about pricing and clients, it's generally because your marketing pipeline isn't full. If your marketing pipeline is full and you have a steady stream of the leads you want coming in, you will then view every client very differently. You will not ever be thinking about, gee, do I need to drop my price a little with this person, or can I drop my price a little for this person? And worrying about margins and everything else, because you've got 5 more leads in the pipeline behind them, and one of those will be the right fit. But if you don't have that consistent pipeline coming in with leads, then yeah, I think you do have to sit there and look at each individual lead. I mean, we've all got bills to pay. We're all trying to make a living. And, you will then look at each different situation, each situation differently, because you're not sure where that next lead is going to come from. And I speak from experience.
No, that's a fantastic point. I mean, that's a huge qualifier for sure, because yeah, if you've got steady business coming in, then hey, you don't even have to have that discussion. But it's nice to know, like I don't even, when I talk about discounting, I haven't discounted in years. I raise my prices every year, and I've done it 3 times this year. So I'm just, from a purely financial point of view, if people are finding a hard time finding that sweet spot, if you're super efficient, you've got more flexibility to find your sweet spot, because not everyone necessarily wants to pay that premium price. There's going to be that happy medium that people are going to bite, but yet you still make them think twice, do I want to go with this?
And I think it comes back to, it's your business,
Mhm.
and it's your decision as to who it is that you want to work with, how much room you want to give on your prices. And if you decide, yes, I really want to work with this client because for whatever, fill in the blank, that you do have that option. Matthew, you've got a question or a point? Comment?
Yeah. So think it's really important right now because there are people, different aspects of their journey to really say something. Everybody always talks about paying their dues when you're getting started. I'm the first person to admit when I was first getting started, I did not have the confidence or the knowledge to truly understand the value of my service I was offering because it wasn't there yet, right? And what we're talking about, and I'm just trying to point this out to anybody who's just getting started, please understand you need to try to figure out how you can value your own services, but don't beat on yourself if you haven't figured this out all the way yet. It takes some time to do that, okay? And it's once you've done it for a bit and you find something that you are the most passionate about, that you just like dealing with a certain client, that is when you're able to get your prices up. As they always say, it's when you're too busy that you start increasing your prices because, hey, if I'm so busy, why would I discount or take a job at a lower price if I'm already too busy?
Yeah.
So just find that strength. You'll get to that point, and when you become that specialist, you'll know it and stick to your guns on your pricing.
Yeah,
Great point, Matthew. Great point.
Yeah. No, absolutely. And so if we go back to our platform discussion, so what would cause you or drive you to change a platform? Whether, again, accounting software platform, or, cause you to change or cause you to add a new platform that you're supporting?
I think
An unreasonable price increase.
Okay.
Anyone in particular?
turns out
So
that
I did say unreasonable.
turns out that is not a good enough reason. Price is not.
Yeah. Jed's clients aren't biting at the price increase. They're sticking with.
Yeah.
Mine on the other hand said, screw that, I'm done.
Well, but there's a major aspect. I agree with you, Jennifer. Do you know how much time, and when everybody talks about jumping the gun, and I'm in the US, so I'm really the one feeling the impact of this a lot, right? Talking about jumping from one platform to another, we're not talking about just my workflows. We're talking about going to every one of my clients and saying, hey, client, because I'm dissatisfied with the way this is going to be priced, I now need you to learn something completely new. That's unrealistic. Unfortunately, that's part of the reason why they've got us over a barrel at times on this stuff. But it's also why I go back to my first answer of why I try to be cognizant of what else is going on in the market, because we have to try to be able to prepare and make moves ahead of time. I've been going through my billing, and just this year alone, one of my software companies I work with have cost me over $2,000 of making modifications to workflows that I'll never see again. But it will cost me way more than $2,000 to switch.
No, absolutely. And if you take that number and you multiply it by members of your team, not only is your workflow having to change and you're having to relearn something, but then every member of your team also has to relearn something. Yeah. And what is the downtime and the cost to that? Because there is a cost to that. And I think that we do forget that, that we look at the price increase and $60 a month. Okay, so that's, depending on what your hourly rate is, even though you're not billing by the hour, it's an hour or 2 hours of your time a month. So how long is that going to take for you to create your new workflows, get a new process going, research a new app, change the app, update your client, update your team, and get it running as smoothly as it is now? And what is that worth to you and in your business?
Well, oh, sorry.
No, go ahead.
I think that this raises a really great point, that we all feel very protective and loyal and supportive of our customers. So when something unexpected comes at us, whether it's a feature change or a price change from one of our app partners, there is this swell of emotion about it. Oh, well, I don't like the way they worded that email. I don't like the way they presented that price. And I think that we all need, as business owners, to remember that, okay, that first wave is 100% emotion. And let's have that emotion. Let's have our glass of wine. Let's talk to our friends and vent it out, and then wake up the next day and say, okay, what is reality?
Yeah.
Am I current on another app? Have I been looking at something that has already been piquing my interest? Maybe I will explore it further. Or am I going to sit back and have an objective conversation with my customers, if that's the case, if the price is going to them, and say, okay, here's what's going on, and I want to give you a heads up and let's talk about it, right? But I think that we all need to remember that we're going to have that emotion because we care so deeply for the business owners and the businesses and the people that we're working with. And we have to let that emotion wash across before we can make a good decision about going forward, right? Whether
Absolutely.
I
I'll
think
real
getting in
quickly
front of
add
it.
to that, I'm sorry, real quickly. We also need, I love what you said. We also need to remember everybody will experience that emotion at different times. And social media is a great example of that.
Yes.
And some people go through it quickly, and some people might take a week or a month to get through it. So
Yeah,
everybody deserves their time.
Yeah, I
Well,
also think,
sorry, go ahead.
if you have, decided to support an app, you have to have a little bit of faith that they're not stupid people and that they know they're in a competitive marketplace and that whatever pricing is done, there's going to have been a lot of thought behind it. I mean, you don't think they look at their competitors and what's going on before they. Now, that doesn't mean to say you have to like it, but I don't think, those kinds of things are just, done without lots of deep thought. And like I say, if you've made it part of your workflows and part of the way you run your business, you have to have a little faith.
That's a great point. When Jen was talking about the emotional side of it, I think the key is just getting in front of it. I mean, Intuit gave us plenty of notice about the fee increase for the QBO up here. I let my clients know well in advance. I framed it in such a way they haven't had an increase in a couple of years. There's all these cool new features. You've seen them. And besides, I give you a discount based on retail anyways. So you're still going to get the discount. So you're still going to get the best deal in the world anyways. Oh, well, in Canada world, because our pricing is different everywhere else. And I sent out the mass email, and nobody said boo. No one even blinked, not a single client. And I was so pleased with that because I expected someone to say, well, I'm done. That's what I needed to decide. I'm getting off this platform, whatever, or I'm changing. Not a single peep.
And
out of it.
I think also that we forget, because this is our industry. And as Jennifer said, we take it all so personally. Okay, I recommended this app for you. So it feels like it's a reflection on ourselves if there is a price increase and you want to change, or they don't have the functionality that this new app does that has all these new features. So we take it personally because we feel like it's a reflection on us. But I think also, from most of our clients' perspective, accounting and bookkeeping, it's their pain point. They don't want to think about it. They don't want to deal with it, which is, why they reached out to us in the first place. But if they don't want to think about it and they don't want to deal with it, then you're telling me there's a $2,500 fee increase a month, but I don't have to learn something new and I don't have to reinvent my accounting wheel. Okay, just pay the $100. Whereas for us, we take that $100 so personally because it's the little bubble that we live in as a part of their business. Whereas they look at, okay, it'll take me more time to figure out how to do this new thing. Just pay the $100 a month so I can focus on the rest of my business, which is why I went into business, so that I can sell more product and serve my customers rather than focusing on my accounting stuff. So we do tend to take it all very personally because that's who we are as an industry. And it is in our industry. But most of the small business owners, it's not a big deal.
No,
okay.
and then, so I was just going to say, and that's why I posted that follow-up, because when I did go out to my customers about that price increase, and 5 out of 6 came back and said, yeah, okay. Right. I was like, all right. So that's what I wanted to share, because I wanted to know what happened to everybody else in the industry. And it wasn't quite as doom and gloom as the initial predictions had indicated.
Yeah.
And so, yeah, pretty happy about that.
We made a big change to our
reasons then
contracts.
that you would change platforms? Sorry, Matthew, go ahead.
I was just going to say, and I've talked about it quite a few times, but we made a pretty big change to our contracts where we literally added in a paragraph that talks about the fact that from time to time, our applications may increase their prices. And when it occurs, the price increase from retail to retail, their service price will increase equal to the retail to retail price change. And
Yeah.
it was the way that we have finally found that we could combat the concern about this stuff. So
No, it's a great idea. And I think more people should put that into their engagement letter. Absolutely, Matthew.
Yeah.
You hit it on the head.
And Kathy made a great point. She said they also, so she's talking about the app partners, also have a business to run and increase prices just like we do.
Yep.
We increase our prices and we should be increasing our prices. So how is that any different?
if you want new features, your price is going to go up. It
Yeah.
costs for software development.
Yeah. And it is, the market is getting really competitive. As we said, there's like a new cash flow app that comes out every day, that if you want to be able to stay on top of it, you have to work on the product. And as like the QBO and the Zero products are also evolving, to stay a relevant app partner, you have to evolve one step ahead and be able to still connect. And so there's development costs that they need to cover. Absolutely.
I hate correcting you, Juliet, but I think that might have been a bit of an exaggeration.
What did I exaggerate?
A new cash flow app every day.
Every other day. You're right. Every other day.
Oh,
Okay.
I'm sorry. I'm sorry.
I mean, they take Sundays off, of course. So
In everyone's experience here, what would you say is most common in our industry? Is it most common for firms to include the app fees in their billing, or the app fees are completely separate from the billing? Which do you think is more common?
I don't know anymore. I think there's been such like dynamic changes. We have always believed, at least Parkway, that we've always wanted everything to be on a single bill. But, and yes, I understand the sales tax ramifications before I even say this. Now breaking it out on an invoice to where we can, present the value of the software, we have to. I mean, while we were trying to make this journey towards value pricing, hybrid, whatever, we got our butt handed to us with all these price increases across the board of everybody. I mean, It was hard. It was really, really hard. We learned some hard lessons from it. So I think other people too are kind of confused as what to do.
So how do you address the question then? When you break out, so do you break it out as one line for software and apps, or do you break it out by app that they're using if they've got an ecosystem going?
So our primary, when we're doing a breakout, it is one line for software, and we're only talking about software that is specifically unique to a client. It's a unique subscription to a client. So our Office 365, all of that type of stuff that we would consider part of our overhead of our business, that's not included, of course.
Right.
Now, where this question really comes into play is, let's take a look at QuickBooks Online and then doing payroll, because we do payroll also. Well, we actually have subscription for the online and for payroll.
But is it two lines or is it one line?
I don't have a straight answer to that, because some of it varies on the client and their ability to appreciate the value of our services. The ultimate goal of it is to try to illuminate what we're actually charging for the services we're providing in comparison to what is being spent out towards the software to provide that service.
Okay. And the only reason I asked that question is I know that when we started this journey, we talked about, and I don't think we ever did it, but we actually, so HubDoc was a product that was mandatory for our clients. So we had to, if you wanted to work with us, you had to use HubDoc. And so it was part of our monthly fee. We rolled it into our monthly fee. But there was a lot of discussion as to whether or not to list them separately. And the reason I think we didn't was we said, well, what if a client says, okay, they see the $25 a month for HubDoc, oh, I don't want to pay the $25 a month, then you have to sell again, and they don't know what HubDoc can do for them. And they don't understand how it's going to make their life easier until they actually experience it. So, so how do you overcome that unless you have one line for software? Does anyone ever say to you, well, what makes up that $200 a month that's on my bill? What software are you using that you're paying for, and how much is all the software?
I believe most small business owners only care what goes out of their pocket. I'm not sure they care that part of the money goes here, part of the money goes here, and part of the money goes there. It is, what is my bookkeeping, accounting services costing me?
I agree.
That would be my thought on that.
I actually bill my software separately. It's a
I do
recurring,
too.
it's a recurring sales receipt, middle of the month or end of the month, depending on where you are. When you first get on board, I prorate your QBO license because that's how they're going to ding me. And you just start paying for your software on that given day. And I don't even think of it. Everything else is over and above that. And they don't think twice about it. It's easy pre-authorized debit. If pricing changes, you just change that. It doesn't get in the way of all your other stuff, and it's automated, so you don't touch it. So it's just a big cash hit a couple times a month.
I wonder, because we roll it all and it's one line, monthly bookkeeping services. So the software that we pay for is in there and our fee. And I do wonder, as these fees are all increasing and they don't see that increase, they think that it's our fees that are increasing, but it's not.
Yeah.
Well, and you raise a good point, although I like what Brad just said, to make it a whole separate line that, you know what, instead of paying the app provider, you're paying me for the cost of the app, and there you go. I would agree with that in any app that the customer could take with them to their next bookkeeping service, right? So if, they could take their HubDoc account to the next bookkeeper. So therefore, they should pay for that subscription. But to your point about having it all rolled in one, I have had that conversation with customers that said, well, so-and-so says that they'll do the bookkeeping for this price.
And include QBO and include HubDoc. Yeah.
And so then they look at my price and say, well, it's more expensive because they just say you're more expensive. They're not having the realization that the cost of the apps is in there. And then I had a great argument from one of my Cerebral customers that said, why are you charging me for the tools that you require to do your work? The plumber doesn't charge me for the wrench or for the lock, right? And I was like, okay, that's.
But actually, the plumber does.
That's a perfect person for value pricing, is all I'm saying. And that just went.
Yeah, how many people are going to sell value pricing to you?
Yeah,
it happens though.
Yeah.
Right? So, so those are the three different ways. So what I've typically tried to do for anybody that's coming in new is in my engagement letter, I show the retail price of these products that is included. And then,
love that.
Right? So they see the retail price of it, and then they see my bundled up price of deliverables that they're going to get so that they can measure the value of working with me and determine if that's a good price for them. But I always include that list of retail of the tools because it's so common in the industry and anybody can look it up. So why make it opaque when you can make it transparent?
And the key to what I love about that is we have 6 people on here right now, right? I guarantee we have 6 different perspectives or logics of how we should look at something. So for us to truly think we're going to come to one finite answer to all of it, it can't. Like, in a sense, the customer service, you have to have your systems and your structure to it, right? But you should be able to slightly adapt or adjust. And I don't mean adjust the bottom line, but adjust the presentation of the information to the client to which will make them happy. The only other thing I wanted to add is the real reason we do a lot of this stuff is it's not usually the monthly amount. I agree with you, Steve. It's at the end of the year. You're sitting there, and if you're doing your job and you're reviewing the financials of the company, well, guess what? There's this big glowing line that says accounting. And right there, if you haven't broken out software versus accounting, you do run into that idea of like, what do you mean I'm paying $3,600 a year or whatever the amount is divided by 12, right? They don't recognize that X amount is going to somebody else. So they do. Hopefully you never lose somebody because of a couple bucks. I mean, if you do, that's an issue of customer service more than it is price. But it does come into play there. So I like what you did with the engagement letter and having the retail price there.
And so, Matthew, when you're coding your invoice in your client's books, do you break out that 2-line invoice between accounting and software?
So I'm so glad you asked that, because when you're talking earlier, I'm like, the real secret sauce, guys, is just bundle everything, but we're doing their accounting. Break it out there. That's all that matters, right? Like, it doesn't matter what's on your books. It matters what's in their books from their eyes.
And so do you break it out into 2 lines in their books? So that your fee
if the
is only your
CDTFA is
fee?
watching right now, I don't know what you're talking about. Yes.
Okay.
We just, full disclosure, we just started doing this because of these pain points. Like, we're trying to figure out a solution. We're going through everything like everybody else, and we're trying to find a good answer.
Well, and you guys have had in the US, you've had a lot of price increases over the last 12 months. I mean, we've had a couple, but nothing compared to what you guys have gone through. And usually what happens in the US follows suit in Canada. So we get to learn from you guys going through the pain as to what works before we actually have to go through it ourselves.
So I've been doing something pretty interesting. I reached out to a bunch of people, and I openly do it as well. I've been collecting all of the notifications, emails of all of the price increases from Intuit, from anybody who has them in their emails as far back as they can find them. To build out, I want to actually evaluate per product line the price increases. Because I think what's happened is there are so many different price and products that are being offered that you're right. We have had a lot of price increases because there's a lot of products. And I'm not trying to stand up for Intuit.
Yeah.
I think this is a great example of when you have something, there's a lot of small little problems with it. If you combine the small little problems, they add up to one giant one. And I think that we're mistaken, and I want to visually represent that.
Okay. And we don't have that many products in Canada. So, and we have had one, as Brad said, we've had one price increase in the last 3 or 4 years with QBO. So it absolutely is very different in the US. And I find it interesting as well that, with some of the app partners, that there is that it's not as competitive because there are so many of them. Right? That some of them are rolling out price increases that are significant and some aren't. But the space is pretty small. So either the other ones will follow suit and just let the fallout happen with this one first, and then they'll all follow suit. I can't imagine that they wouldn't. Okay, so let's go back to my question of what would cause you to change platforms. We've got about 4 minutes left.
Oh, in one sentence, a super fabulous life-changing feature.
That's a good one.
For you or for your client?
Both.
Yeah, the product's going to have to be that much better. Like, honestly, what's going to top QuickBooks Online? You can argue Xero, but then you can argue it's not. They're really equal platforms. If something came out of nowhere, maybe, right? We'd have to look at it first, evaluate it, maybe. I just don't see that happening. I think lower down, in that pre-accounting side, HubDoc used to be the be all end all to everyone. And then, Receipt Bank and auto entries there and everything. It has to be a big change to make you want to make a change.
Yeah.
It has to be a big improvement, not just a slightly better price or you like their logo better or something like that. It has to be material.
Well, I will agree with that, but the only catalyst that will actually make it not have to be quite as big of improvement is a dramatic drop in customer support. And I'm going to give the example of Zoom. I recently I'm very, very saddened and disappointed that I've had some issues with Zoom where I had all of my recordings from August disappear. They just made a change where you can only immediately pull a search for 1 month of video. So if you're storing anything on the cloud, even if you're paying more, it disappeared. Now, but the point to bring it back home with this is Zoom has always had phenomenal customer support. Like they were outstanding. And the person I tried to connect to, I was asking for assistance. We were not connecting, language difference, whatever it may be. So I said, hey, can we do a quick Zoom so we can, this will be easy. They told me no, gave me a whole bunch of guff until I said, not a problem. I'm now officially recording this conversation with my Zoom meeting for quality purposes. And I did. I'm going to post it. Amazingly, the person was immediately available. I still have not had any answer to where my videos are. And literally some of those videos were recorded so I can make content to put out on purpose and try to make money off of.
Right.
So Zoom is an amazing product, but I am now openly looking to see what's the next one coming up, because if you give me a little bit of a better feature set, I'm going to be open to it.
Okay. So customer support and service. Absolutely. Any other reason that you would change? So mind-blowing new features for either us or our clients. Customer support, big change in customer support. Why else would you change a platform? So assume you're already working with a particular app or service offering. Why would you switch? Yep. Jennifer?
What if the app company gets sold?
Good one.
Just by somebody else.
Or bought by somebody else? Yeah.
Sometimes the app's not as good when it goes over to the new place.
Yeah. Or Dream Payments. We all love Dream Payments.
They took it away from us.
Yeah.
That was
and
harsh.
I guess that's another thing to consider when you're looking at moving to an app. And Brad, you said that in order for you to move to QBO or off of Xero, there has to be some new player that is bigger and better and has all these really cool things. But they also don't have the history that I'm a solid company and I'm going to be here for a while into it, versus this new app partner that has developed this new software that maybe it's bigger and better, but how long are they going to be there?
Yeah. It's such a theoretical, because it can't happen. I mean, Xero and Intuit are so far ahead of the curve right now that it's almost impossible. The barrier to entry. I agree. Something can happen, but the barriers to entry in that sector are super high. But there are a lot of other app products. I mentioned Receipt Bank. Receipt Bank I'm comfortable with for a variety of reasons, but Auto Entry came out with some cool stuff. I still don't think they're as good in some areas, but it really caught my interest, and I still look at it and support. So there's other tools out there. We all talk about those three, but there's so many other tools. There's Entry List, there's this tool, there's that tool. Eventually that one tool is going to come along. It'll get your attention. You go, it does everything that Receipt Bank does. I like it better. Maybe pricing, the quality, service, whatever. And that could be just like that. You could be gone.
And I think that the difference also is for a lot of us that have been in this space and in this industry and on this journey for a while, we have diehard apps that we're now using and support. And for all these reasons that we've listed, we don't, there may be a new app that comes on that has some new features, but we now have an established relationship with the app partner that we get better customer support because we're one of the pioneer in the industry with using them. And we've helped them grow, so they help us grow. So you have a different relationship. And there is a value to that you have a problem or your client has a problem. You pick up the phone and you're not on hold listening to music for 20 minutes, waiting for someone and need to get escalated. You can just pick up the phone and call somebody. So there is some value to the relationship as well over a long period of time.
The relationship part, this is important to it, because actually I think this is one that maybe not people would agree with. If a fundamentally key person leaves a company to another company, Tom Port is a badass fool. I love the guy to death. He's great. And I tell you what, like if he was to leave Auto Entry, I'd be like, where'd you go, Tom? And I would follow him, right?
Huh?
Mike with Cashflow Tool, great guy. I mean, there are certain people that they just live, eat, breathe. They're so passionate about, and you make those relationships with them that a key individual could be a reason to change.
That's interesting. Okay.
Bye, Rich Priest.
It would be a reason to explore the new app. I don't think it would cause an immediate change, but you would certainly be open to looking at it and with open eyes and a clear head to say, okay, what is this product really?
Well said.
Yeah.
Okay.
That's
All right,
my-
perfect. So we're a couple of minutes running over 9 o'clock. But thank you very much for, I thought it was an interesting discussion. I think that we had some good conversations, some good insight. Hopefully everyone in the audience enjoyed it as well. So thank you all for joining us for another Wine and Whiskey Wednesday. Cheers and have
Cheers.
a fabulous rest of your week.
Have an awesome
Bye,
week.
everyone.
See you next week.
Bye.
What are you drinking, Matthew?
I just received this as a gift from Baravi, and I'm just saying next time I'll have something in there. But
Okay, very cool.
Cool.
happy Wednesday.
See ya.
Cheers.